Hi, I'm Mikko Heiskala. In this part, I'll be talking about different kind of emergent trends in technology that are related to digitalization. First, we need to talk a little bit about hype cycles though. So this might be familiar to you, but Gartner has created this hype cycle graph. So it's basically how inflated the expectations are related to actual maturity and how much the technology is used. So keeping this in mind, that some of these technologies are just rising up on the inflated expectations and not yet necessarily in actual production use as much. The first technology trend I'm going to talk about is mobility. So mobile devices nowadays allow consumers to interact with brands and providers, any kind of information, and with each other with a handheld portable device. And this is much different to how it used to be. So digital technology, we were talking about desktop computers to laptop computers, then we were talking about portable technology, and now everybody has their own personal mobile device. And compared to physical or interaction with the PC, this interaction then can take place anywhere, anytime, and in any context with the mobile device. So every customer experience of every customer can now begin and end in a mobile channel. Mobile devices are personal, owned by individuals, and this is much different to how it used to be as well. Now everybody has their own mobile phone. Back in the days, there might be one computer in a home, but now, or even the kids have their own devices. So mobile devices are personal, but they also could be considered as a gateway to hack our minds. So you might read this book on persuasive design called Evil by Design. So it's looking at different kind of design patterns, how to create services that are actually very persuasive in terms of what the service provider wants to achieve. Social media, it's a trend that relates also to the democratization that we talked about earlier in another video. It's a platform for even individuals to create and share their content, thoughts, ideas, and not just consume what others have made. And in social media, if you make customers unhappy in the physical world, they might tell maybe 6 friends. If you make customers unhappy now on the internet, they can each tell 6,000 friends with social media. And this is concerned with the Jeff Bezos, founder and CEO of Amazon, was talking about. So this is much different, again, to how it used to be. Of course, it's not all good. Facebook and other social media platforms are really, they are providing something for free for us. And of course, they are also collecting a lot of data about us and what we do, which they are then using to offer better advertisement services for their paying customers. Next trend is datafication. You might have heard the term or phrase, data is the new oil. But is it really? And that's your exercise now. So stop the video and then write down your thoughts on how data is like oil and how it is not. And continue the video only after that. Okay, now you've looked into how data is like oil or is not. Oil, of course, is hugely significant and valuable for business and society. All data is that also. Crude oil is very generic and standard, and it doesn't really matter which barrel of oil you buy. Data might be a little bit different in this sense. It comes in many forms. It's just about always contextual, related to some specific instance or some individual or situation or time. And there, of course, could be multiple sources for data about the same phenomenon. So in this sense, it's not like oil at all, in my opinion. Oil is not a renewable resource, and it's coming rare as well. Data, we have a lot, and we are creating a lot of it all the time. Some specific data might be rare. If you want to get something valuable from oil, it requires extraction and refinement to create tradable products, well, like plastic. Data isn't valuable in itself either. You need to do data acquisition and analysis to get any kind of a specific benefit out of it. In this sense, data is like oil. If you sell oil, the buyer owns it. How are you selling data? Are you sharing it, digital data? You can still retain the data if you are just offering access to it. If you use oil, it's consumed. You cannot reuse it again. Data in turn is inexhaustible, unperishable, non-rival goods. So you can share it again and again and again. Of course, it can become obsolete or untrue at some point in time. Oil is excludable. You may prevent people from having access to it unless they pay. Data is much less so. So there's no intellectual property rights. It's digital data and digital services and software is leaky. Oil is not an experience good. So an experience good is something that you know the value when you see it, but not before. Oil, in this sense, is not like data at all as well. Oil drilling and refinement require huge upfront and continuous investment. For data, this very much varies. And oil spills and pollution are a problem, and questionable drilling practices for all the industry. And data, well, we have privacy risk, data hoarding, individual and company liabilities, and these kind of issues. In this sense, there might be some similarities with oil and data. So why I'm talking about and comparing this data is the new oil. You should keep in mind that these kind of phrases sound nice, but they are not necessarily accurate when you hear them. So keep this in mind and think for yourself. All right, we have a lot of data, and Google CEO at the time, 2010, said that the amount of data generated in 2 days is as much as all data generated in human history before 2003. And this he said in 2010. And it's much different now. We have a lot of more data generated in every day. So how much? EDC, a consultancy company, has created this kind of a digital universe study. So they're trying to find how big is the digital universe, so how much different kind of digital data we have on different kind of devices. And their estimate is that by 2020, we have 44 zettabytes of that. What is a zettabyte? Well, terabyte, you might have an idea of how much that is. You have a hard drive that's, maybe 1 or 2 terabytes. Well, if you compare a terabyte to a zettabyte, it's like the same if you would compare a 1 meter diameter beach ball to the sun. Well, the sun is big, that much we know. So 44 zettabytes is a lot of digital data. Data is being considered as a capital nowadays as well. And this is because large data set and a simple model for analysis always is better than a small data set and a more sophisticated analysis model. So companies are hoarding data just in case they can do much better analysis with it or develop more simple algorithms from their bigger data set later on. What about you then? We are being tracked by different kind of digital services we use, and that data is being sold for different companies that all want to know more about us as well. So your data is in the hand of aggregators. We create digital breadcrumbs, whatever digital services we use, and these aggregators can get their hands on that data and share it with the world, of course, for a price. Your data is also in the hands of an API ecosystem, so application programming interfaces. You generate data somewhere, and they might offer it as a service to some other parties. And there's no really infrastructure related to your data. So it's a piece of your data there and there. So this doesn't really sound optimal to me. And if data really is the new oil, at least in some extent, why aren't we, the individuals, the new sheikhs, to get the benefit out of the money, in the terms of money that we get from the data created by us, about us? Well, what if data would be actually in your hands, then there would be a technical infrastructure to support that. And this is what the Finnish My Data initiative is trying to achieve. So you would be in control, controlling what data is collected about you and who gets access to it. So look into My Data initiative. That's interesting for every one of us. Next trend is artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data mining. Artificial intelligence, why are we talking about it now? It's been around for decades already. It's been a long-term research area. But around 10 years ago, in 2010, 2011, our digital capabilities, utility computing, computing power, and different software technologies came to be that allow actual machine learning to take place. It's computationally intensive, so this was not possible in the scale it is nowadays. And you can see this trend, after 2010, the venture capital money going to different kind of artificial intelligence systems has been growing in a hockey stick way, so almost exponentially, especially in the US. All right, well, previously, artificial intelligence was more about building a model of human knowledge and then embedding it into a computer or software program and use that model for inference in different kind of situations. This was very slow and difficult to make and then maintain when things change, and things always change. All of these systems were context dependent, so they were good at doing one thing and useless in any other kind of context or situation. So they could only do the thing they were designed to do. Nowadays, the hype behind our artificial intelligence technologies and promise is based on the capability to learn from data. And like we discussed, we have a lot of that data in digital form and are getting more of it. The modern artificial intelligence systems are still context dependent, so they are good in one thing and useless in any other context. So that's what's same to the things, how things were. Most applications in artificial intelligence are based on learning, and there are a few categories. So supervised learning, so you have training data that includes the desired labeled results. Reinforcement learning, so the system learns an optimal policy for actions in an environment given certain rewards. Or even unsupervised learning, so they identify some patterns in unlabeled data that could then be useful for analysis. A really, really hype trend in technology nowadays is the blockchain. It's treated as the generic solutions to replace different kind of middlemen and central authorities that we need in current business as a trusted third party. So back in the days and nowadays, if you're moving money around, you might have central parties like PayPal, credit companies that allow different parties to change payments. And Bitcoin, which is a cryptocurrency based on blockchain technology, you don't need those middlemen. It's just software running and two persons interacting using that software. Nobody is controlling Bitcoin. So you won't have a central control system in place. Blockchain is a data structure, a kind of distributed ledger. It's combining cryptography and other technologies in a clever design so that the contents of the data structure can be distributed to everyone. And that content can be openly readable by all. While we can also be very, very sure that no one can change the content in the data structure afterwards. And blockchain, like I said, is the technology behind the cryptocurrency Bitcoin. I saw this on Twitter. It's a nice way to put what Bitcoin is. So imagine if you are keeping your car idling for 24/7, that's producing solved Sudokus you could trade for heroin. All right, so why the apparent skepticism in my voice about Bitcoin here and picking such a post from Twitter? Okay, Bitcoin mining. So that's the process we need to be sure that the stuff that goes into the straight data structure is actually accurate and what we want. So this mining is very computationally heavy and energy consuming. But it's required for ensuring Bitcoin transactions are actually valid. And the energy consumption here is, at the scale of a small countries like Ireland. So it's a lot of energy going into it. But it's needed for every one of us to be sure that the actual stuff that goes into the Bitcoin blockchain is valid. And then trading the heroin. Have you owned? Well, maybe you have owned Bitcoin. But more importantly, if you're talking about currency, have you bought anything with Bitcoin? Do you know a place where you can buy something with Bitcoin? I'm betting you don't. Not too many of you or not too many places. Okay, it's technically working, but it's not very useful for trading stuff or doing transactions with the money. Okay, in Bitcoin and general blockchain technology, trust is switched from that single third party in the middle to the majority of stakeholders staying and being honest. In Bitcoin, these stakeholders are the miners. Okay, if you have this kind of a decentralized governance and system in place, how can you actually improve the system over time when things change? So this change is much more difficult. Okay, all that said, Bitcoin is the largest cryptocurrency around, and a lot of money is flowing into the blockchain technologies. And blockchain is not just the cryptocurrencies as well. So a lot of the blockchain technologies used in a different way can be very beneficial for business, and a lot of venture capital money is going into this blockchain technologies. So I'm sure we're going to see beneficial examples of using blockchain technology in business in the near future. So this is just an example of how much money is going into Bitcoin and blockchain startups in the US. Okay, to conclude this video and a few videos I've been doing, it used to be the case that IT follows business. So IT was something to improve the existing business. But nowadays, all businesses will have and will increasingly have embedded digital technologies. So future strategy must be digital business strategy. I'm Mikko Heiskala. Thank you for watching.